Hey-ho, I know that you're watching the back of my head, and this isn't really usually done on television, but that's because this evening is about what happens in here. It's about creativity and imagination and dreams and personal history. It's also about one of those special times that happens when you have a lot of people over dinner and you step back and sit in the chairs in the living room, and something magic happens once in a while. You don't just make small talk. Something special. People start telling stories. People start laughing. People start singing songs. And all of a sudden, you don't want to go home. You hope that life like this would go on forever. And we hope that it's this kind of evening. We've tried to make this Fulghum's after dinner in some ways. We've got furniture of mine that's up here, and there's a table, and here's my rug, and they're friends over here. My people I have long had association with, and more than that, we've got something you don't usually see in your house after dinner, all these people, and this is the Intiman Theater in Seattle, and there are a lot of us here, some that you don't see, technicians out in the truck, and cameramen, and TJ here in Manicam behind this lens. But what we'd like for you to do is to have a sense, insofar as our imaginations allow it, that we are having dinner with one another, and the magic is about to happen, and we hope you'll join us for that magic, Fulghum's after dinner. Another thing that brought us here is this book. All I need to know I learned in kindergarten. It's a book that got around the country because of a few things that are on the back of it. We send children to school to be civilized. We were sent for the same reason, and when we get there, we're told some pretty basic things. We're told, don't hit people. It's a bad thing to do. Share things. That's a good thing to do. If you make a mess, clean it up. If you have something that's not yours, don't take it. Put it back where you found it. Take a nap. Paint some and work some, think some, and play some every day. These are the basics of civilization. And people thought enough of that funny little litany that we all learned that they put it on their refrigerators, and the next thing you know, it was all over the world in 62 countries now, in 16 languages. It's rather amazing. That piece ends with something that is the theme of this evening. It says, when you go out into the world, it is best to hold hands, watch out for traffic, stick together. And that's a metaphor for friends. And I have old-time friends with me tonight to share. These are the kind of people I'd invite over after dinner, and we're going to do what we do if they came. Sitting down over here is Barbara Lamb, way over there, and Joe Miller's next to her, and Nancy Katz, and Lisa Teo. And they're Ranch Romance together, and they're the kind of folks who fall by my house after dinner and play music. And sitting right here beside me is Rambling Rex Jakubowski, the one-man blues band. He was standing on a corner in the Pike Street Market one day, singing in his magnificent big voice, and just had the whole crowd out there jumping. And I thought, well, I wish I knew somebody like that. And I thought, well, you just walk up and say hello, and then invite him over to dinner. And Rex came over to my house for dinner, has been coming ever since. And
I like to eat.
And you always know when he's there, there's not a lot left behind. And here's my friend Walter Wagner. He has been coming to my house for dinner for 20 years. He came, in fact, one night. He liked it so well that he never left. He moved his piano in the next week and lived with us for a couple of years. And then he bought the house, and he's still at my house after dinner in a sense. Only he's paying the mortgage now. And back here is my friend Robert Kimball. Robert Kimball and I go back 30 years. He was my teacher in seminary, and then my friend, and then my mentor. And he's kind of responsible for all of this because out of a credo course that he taught, I wrote the basics of this book. So the circle comes round, and part of this evening is to honor him and what he's all about. That's what it means to hold hands and stick together. And then there's one more guy back here, is Stockton Rush. Stockton is one of those people that when you're making up a list for a party, you always think, oh, we got to have Rush over, because if he's there, people laugh. And laughers are holy people. They're monks in my estimation, those lamas who have great wisdom because they see the serious and the comic and somehow make us laugh at it rather than cry about it. So he's here after dinner. Well, that's kind of the heavy stuff, get everybody introduced to, and we're going to read some things out of this book tonight, some things that you know about. First thing we're going to start with is spiders. And my friend Stockton Rush here knows some things about spiders. Give me your spider bit.
Oh. Well, you know, I hadn't really, Fulghum, I hadn't really done a lot of thinking about spiders.
Yes.
Till recently. A well-meaning but misguided friend in the East sent me a book of poetry written by my ex-wife.
Uh-huh. Miss Utah, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. I sure hope this doesn't go national. Anyway, it's kind of hard to know what to write to a guy like that. I've known him since college, and so I sat down and I wrote the following letter, and it said, "Dear Ned, once upon a time, there was a little girl who received for Christmas from her favorite aunt a book about spiders." New paragraph. After a great deal of thought, she wrote to her aunt and said as follows: "Dear Aunt Mary, thank you very much for the book about spiders. It's just what I always wanted, but not very much. Very sincerely yours." I haven't heard back from my friend yet.
Spiders have some motions that go with them. There's a one-handed spider motion. When you go out your door in the morning, you do this time of year. You don't know where it is, but you want to know first with your hand rather than with your face, because it can ruin your day. And then there's a two-handed spider motion, and it goes like this. And when you know what I'm doing, do what I'm doing. I'm going to start it and sing it in my head. Look at all these people. You know it. Let's do it. Teensy, teensy spider went up the water spout. Yeah. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Up came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the teensy, teensy spider went up the spout again. Good. I've been in 52 American cities in the last year, and on a number of occasions, and especially very serious occasions, for example, with bankers in Orlando, I said, "Watch me," and everybody did it. It strikes me as an amazing thing, the sort of thing that I'm kind of interested in, why there should be this twist on this. Mostly when we think of spiders, we go, "Ah!" But when you ask, do people know the song? Yeah, and when I was in Bush School talking to the kindergartners last week, "Do you know this song?" "Oh, yeah, they all knew it. We're still doing it." Why is it, do you suppose, that we should continue to teach this song, this crazy song about a spider? The song says a spider goes out into the world and goes up a water spout, this strange, peculiar thing. Why would a spider want to do that? But it does it. And it gets partly up there, and then down comes the rain, says the song. Wash the spider out. But that's not the end of the story. Song goes on. Sun comes out. Life moves on. And the spider says, it doesn't say the spider says, "I'll never do that again." No, the spider checks the spout. And he makes sure he's got his hands tight, his legs tight. And he says a little spider prayer, and he checks to see where the sun's on. And then he goes up. And the song goes on and on and on. In fact, if you've got a 3-year-old and you teach them that song, they will sing it over and over and over. But that's quite appropriate because the story goes over and over and over. It occurs to me that that song continues because it is a model for us as human beings. We like that spider. Small creatures go out in the world. We've been going out in the world for a long time. And disaster, misfortune comes in the form of saber-toothed tigers and glaciers and fires and plagues and all that terrible stuff. But we don't stop and say, "No, we quick fold this thing." We keep going on. We are bad weather creatures like the spider. It is the story of the human enterprise. And we go out, checking a little more carefully this time, watching out where are the saber-toothed tigers, but we still go out. Living things have been doing that for a long, long time. That's our story, the story of life itself. Through every kind of disaster, every kind of setback, every kind of catastrophe, we are survivors. We teach our kids about that so that they are survivors. And maybe maybe spiders teach their kids about this too. Because if you look at this from a spider's point of view, imagine you've just made the web and it looks so fine and you're all ready to catch some bug and you showed your spider child how to do this, and all of a sudden this happens to it, something goes through. And if I was a spider and that happened to me every morning, I'd get the spider blues. And I asked Rex if you got any idea of how a spider might approach singing the blues given this condition of life. And so we got a little spider blues from Ramblin' Rex.
Yes, I'm big and hairy, baby, but mama, I sure ain't mean. Yes, I'm big and hairy, baby, woo, but mama, I sure ain't mean. Just climb up on my web, honey, you see exactly what I mean. I lost 2 legs last night when somebody came crashing through. Woo! Lost 2 legs last night, baby, when someone came crashing through. But I got 6 left, honey. Please let me wrap them around you. Woo! Hey, baby. Let me hang you and spin in the wind, mama. Woo! We're gonna get nice and sticky tonight, honey. Oh yes, effort. Woo! That's the spider's view of the blues, baby. Woo! Thank you. All right.
A lot of my writing is about ordinary things like that. Something I've written and talked about a great deal in my life on one occasion or another is about dandelions. Dandelions happen to be my most favorite flower. And if you look at them from a different point of view, like we've been looking at spiders, you might see them in a different way. I happen to like dandelions a whole lot, and my neighbors don't, and they try to poison them, and I've caught them over in my yard 2 or 3 times, and from my point of view, they are flowers. And from their point of view, they are weeds, but it's the eye of the beholder here that's the important issue. Let me share with you a few words I've written about how I feel about dandelions. Let me have a little dandelion music back here.
Dandelion sleeps tonight.
The dandelion sleeps tonight. Oh, that's terrible, terrible, terrible. Dandelions cover my yard each spring with fine yellow flowers, and they don't need any help from me at all. They mind their business, and I mind mine. The young leaves make a spicy salad, and the flowers add a nice fine color to a lovely light wine. If you toast the roots and grind them and put them in the right pot, you can have a lovely tonic tea. And the leaves have iron and vitamins A and C, and they make a good laxative in case you're interested in that. The dried leaves are very special to look at and beautiful when they dry. And the bees favor dandelions, and the cooperative result is a lovely honey. Dandelions have been around a lot longer than we have. 30 million years. There are fossils, dandelion fossils, 30 million years old. Formerly classed with all sorts of fancy names, distributed all over Europe, Dandelion is the French name, the tooth of the lion. They got across Asia and across all of North America and South America as well, entirely on their own. No one ever imported dandelions to plant. Resistant to disease and bugs and heat and cold and wind and rain and human beings, If dandelions were rare and fragile, see, people would knock themselves out to pay $14.95 a pot for these things. And they'd raise them by hand in dandelion greenhouses, and they'd form dandelion societies and wear dandelion patches and stuff and sell dandelion stationery. But dandelions are everywhere, and they don't need us. And they do as they well dandelion please. So we call them weeds because of this, and murder them every chance we get. Well, I say that dandelions are flowers, by God, and pretty fine flowers at that. And I am honored to have them in my yard and in my life where I want them. Besides, in addition to every good thing about them, they are magic. When the flower turns to seed, you can blow them off the stem. And if you blow just right, all those little helicopters go away and you get your wish. Magic. Or if you're a lover, you make a ring of them and put them around your loved one's hair. I defy my neighbor to show me anything as fine as dandelions. And if that wasn't enough, consider this. Dandelions are free. Nobody complains if you take all you want. You can have all you can carry away. And if them is weeds, some weeds indeed. Seeing dandelions a little bit different reminds me that human beings like to be seen in a little special light. All of us get seen as the whole ball of wax, but we want to be seen for ourselves, for people to see us like dandelions. Here's a piece about the human side of being a dandelion. I'd been left in charge of all the children in church, and all the grown-ups had gone off to Sunday school. And we had this game called Giants and Wizards and Dwarfs. And it was mostly a way to get a whole lot of people organized to do something really crazy and run around in circles and fall down and forget who won. And so my instructions to the children were very clear. Now you have to decide whether you are a dwarf or a giant or a wizard. And there was all this hubbub, and there was this pull at the trousers. And I looked down, and here's this little girl, and she said, "Excuse me, where did the mermaid stand?" "I'm sorry," I said, "there are no mermaids in this store." "Oh, yes," she said, "I am one." And it was very clear with the grip that she had on my trousers that she was not going away until this issue was resolved. "Where do the mermaids stand?" she said. And I thought, there are no mermaids. I don't know what. No, there are no mermaids, but she was still holding on to my trousers. And I thought, this is one of the heaviest questions that was ever asked. She knew that she was a mermaid, and she knew there must be a place for her, and because I seemed to know what I was doing, that I would know where that place was. Where do the mermaids stand? All those people in this world who are different, who are not like everyone else, who don't belong in pigeonholes, and who are determined not to give that up. If you can answer that question, where do the mermaids stand? You can build a world or a universe on it. What did I say? Oh, every once in a while I say the right thing. I said, the mermaids stand right here by the king of the sea. And she understood that if I wanted to be the king of the sea, that was cool with her. So we stood there, hand in hand, watching the giants and wizards roll by. It is not true that mermaids do not exist. I know at least one, personally. I have held her hand. Well, that's kind of heavy stuff. Let's shift in another direction that sort of leads from that, because mermaids lead to the story of Cinderella. And that thing I've been talking about all evening is that Cinderella thing where you want someone to find you, to see that you are special and different. And if it all works out, then you get to marry the prince if you're Cinderella. And I would like to shift in the direction of what happens after that. I want to talk about weddings a little bit. And this shift from mermaids to weddings, we're going to need some atmospheric changes from you. I once did a wonderful wedding where the musicians did not show up, and we badly needed music. Now, I know that sounds like disaster, but from my point of view, it was a wonderful opportunity to involve everyone. So I explained to all the guests that I needed music from them, that they were going to have to be the full procession, and all we had to do was the wedding march. So we did it. Give us, and you can do it to establish the mood with me. Give me the... Oh, yes, okay. Listen and pick up as you get it. La, 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 weak. La, 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 heavy part. La, 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 la. To do it without the musicians. I want you to hear how magnificent you sound. Watch me, class. Here we go. The bride is coming, and everything depends upon you, or it's going to be a failure. So you're it. La, 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 la. Yes. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. We're going to be talking about weddings when we come back, and we hope you're in much of a wedding mood as we are.